Kira Sutton's evening was going from bad to worse as her date droned on about his cryptocurrency investments, not even pausing when she attempted to change the subject for the third time. "So basically, I'm what you'd call an early adopter," he said, examining his reflection in his knife. "I was mining Bitcoin when most people still thought it was a video game." "That's interesting," Kira replied, desperately trying to remember why she had agreed to this date in the first place. Oh right, her roommate's persistent insistence that putting herself out there would help her get over her ex. Clearly, that logic was flawed. At the next table, Noah Xander was trying to focus on the financial reports his assistant had insisted were urgent, but the painfully awkward date unfolding mere feet away kept distracting him. The woman's uncomfortable laughter made him glance up from his tablet more than once. Each time he did, he couldn't help noticing how her smile didn't reach her eyes and how she kept checking her watch under the table. Noah wasn't in the habit of eavesdropping, but in the intimate setting of Aloysius, one of Manhattan's most exclusive restaurants, it was almost impossible not to overhear conversations at neighboring tables. Especially when one participant was as loud as this particular gentleman seemed to be. "So anyway, enough about me," the man said, clearly not meaning it. "Let's talk about you. What do you think about my investment strategy?" Noah winced. He took a sip of his 18-year-old scotch, feeling inexplicably invested in this stranger's disastrous evening. "I'm not really familiar with," the woman began. "That's the problem with most people," her date interrupted. "They don't understand the future, but that's why I'm here to enlighten you." Noah watched as the woman Kira he'd heard her date call her subtly signaled the waiter for another glass of wine. Her third, he noted, though who could blame her. "Derek, I appreciate the information, but maybe we could talk about something else," Kira suggested gently. "Like what?" Derek asked, seemingly genuinely confused. "Like anything else. Books, movies, travel. Oh, I don't really have time for that stuff. When you're building wealth, distractions are the enemy." Noah almost choked on his drink. This guy was a walking red flag factory. He returned to his reports, determined to mind his own business, but found himself increasingly irritated by the man's condescending tone. "Would you excuse me for a moment?" Kira asked politely, rising from her seat. "I need to use the restroom." As she walked away, Noah couldn't help but notice her expression of pure relief as soon as her back was turned. He also couldn't miss how Derek's eyes followed a passing waitress instead of his date. When Derek pulled out his phone and began swiping on what looked suspiciously like a dating app, Noah had seen enough. Making a split-second decision, Noah stood up and intercepted Kira as she returned from the restroom. "There you are," he said warmly, as if they were old friends. "I thought I recognized you." Kira looked at him with confusion. "I'm sorry, do I know you?" Noah leaned in slightly. "No," he whispered, "but you look like you need rescuing. I'm Noah." Kira's eyes widened with understanding and relief washed over her face. "Noah, oh my God, it's been forever," she exclaimed, playing along flawlessly. "I hate to interrupt your dinner, but there's an emergency at the office," Noah continued, loud enough for Derek to hear. "The Sutherland presentation is missing key slides and you're the only one who can fix it." Kira nodded vigorously. "Of course." "The Sutherland presentation. Can't let that fall apart." They walked back to her table together where Derek was still engrossed in his phone. "I'm so sorry," Kira said to her date, "but there's an emergency at work. I have to go." Derek looked up, annoyed at the interruption. "Now?" "We haven't even had dessert. I was going to tell you about my NFT collection." Noah suppressed a smile as Kira grabbed her purse. "It can't wait," she insisted. "This is Noah, my colleague." Noah extended his hand. "Sorry to steal her away. Work emergencies, you know how it is." Derek reluctantly shook Noah's hand, his grip unnecessarily firm. "I suppose," he muttered. "I'll make sure the bill is taken care of," Noah added smoothly. "Least I could do for ruining your evening." Before Derek could protest, Noah had signaled to the waiter and guided Kira toward the exit. Once they were outside in the cool evening air, she burst into laughter. "I can't believe I just did that. I don't normally ditch dates, but that was excruciating," Noah finished for her. "I was sitting at the next table. The cryptocurrency monologue was painful." Kira groaned. You heard all that? How embarrassing. Thank you for the rescue mission, seriously. Happy to help, though I feel I should warn you that your friend Derek was on Tinder while you were in the restroom. Of course he was, Kira sighed. My roommate set us up, I should have known better. They stood together on the sidewalk, the bustling city continuing around them. Noah found himself reluctant to end their interaction. Can I offer you a ride home, or maybe a proper drink somewhere quieter, he suggested. Consider it compensation for having to endure that date. Kira studied him carefully. I don't normally go for drinks with strangers who interrupt my dates. Fair enough, Noah smiled. Though technically I didn't interrupt a date, I interrupted a cryptocurrency lecture. That made her laugh, a genuine sound that seemed to brighten the night around them. Okay, you've got a point there. One drink, somewhere public. Perfect. Noah gestured down the street. There's a place around the corner with excellent cocktails and zero cryptocurrency enthusiasts guaranteed. As they walked, Noah found himself intrigued by this woman who'd maintained her sense of humor through such an awful date. There was something refreshing about her no pretense, no calculation. It was rare in his world. They found a small, elegant bar with leather booths and low lighting. After ordering their drinks, a Manhattan for Noah and a gin and tonic for Kira, they settled into conversation. So, Kira began, what were you doing dining alone at Aloysius? Business dinner? Just catching up on work, Noah replied. I find restaurant background noise helps me focus sometimes. Weird habit, I know. Not at all. I write in coffee shops for the same reason. Kira took a sip of her drink. What kind of work? Noah hesitated. This was usually where conversations became complicated. Once people learned who he was, everything changed. Investment management, he said vaguely. But enough about work. Tell me what you do that doesn't involve cryptocurrency. I'm a landscape architect, Kira said with pride. I design public spaces and gardens. That sounds fascinating, Noah said, genuinely interested. Any projects I might know? Well, I worked on the redesign of Bryant Park's eastern section last year, and I'm currently leading a project to transform an abandoned lot in Brooklyn into a community garden. The vertical garden space, Noah asked, surprised. With the rainwater collection system, Kira's eyes widened. You know about that? I read an article about innovative urban green spaces. Your design was featured. It's brilliant work. Thank you, she said, clearly pleased. It's not often people actually know what I'm talking about when I mention my projects. Their conversation flowed effortlessly from there. Kira told him about her passion for creating accessible green spaces in urban environments, while Noah shared stories of his travels. He carefully avoided mentioning that his business trips involved managing a global empire worth billions. 2 hours passed before either of them checked the time. I should probably head home, Kira said reluctantly. I have an early meeting tomorrow. Of course, Noah replied, signaling for the check. Can I call you a car? No need, she smiled. The subway is just around the corner. At this hour, let me at least get you a taxi. I take the subway home this late all the time, Kira assured him. It's perfectly safe, Noah nodded, respecting her independence while still feeling protective. Then I'll walk you to the station. Outside, the night had grown cooler. As they walked, their hands brushed accidentally, sending an unexpected jolt through Noah. He couldn't remember the last time he'd felt so comfortable with someone he'd just met. At the subway entrance, Kira turned to him. Thank you again for rescuing me tonight. And for turning a terrible evening into a surprisingly good one. The pleasure was mine, Noah replied sincerely. He hesitated, then added, I'd like to see you again. Properly this time, not as a fake colleague. Kira smiled. I'd like that too. She took out her phone. Your number. They exchanged contact information, and Noah watched as she descended the stairs. Just before she disappeared from view, she turned and waved. He found himself standing there long after she was gone, replaying their conversation in his mind. The next morning, Noah was in the middle of a meeting when his phone buzzed with a text. Just wanted to make sure you know I'm expecting a real date, not another rescue mission. No cryptocurrency lectures allowed. Kira, he smiled, typing back. How about dinner tomorrow? I promise zero financial advice will be given. Her response came quickly. Perfect, but this time I picked the place. Less fancy, more flavor. Deal, he replied. Noah returned to his meeting with renewed focus. As CEO of Xander Investments, one of the largest private equity firms in the country, his days were typically filled with high-stakes decisions and demanding clients. Today, however, he found himself occasionally drifting to thoughts of Kira's laugh and the way her eyes lit up when she talked about her work. When they met the following evening at a small Italian restaurant in the village, Noah arrived early, requesting a corner table for privacy. He dressed down in jeans and a casual button-up, hoping to blend in more. The last thing he wanted was for Kira to feel overwhelmed by who he was. She arrived wearing a simple green dress that complemented her eyes, her dark hair loose around her shoulders. Noah stood as she approached, struck again by how naturally beautiful she was. No rescue required tonight, she teased as she sat down. I made it here all on my own. I'm disappointed, Noah replied with mock seriousness. I had a whole elaborate scheme planned involving fake FBI agents and a helicopter. Their dinner was even better than their impromptu drinks. Kira told him about growing up in a small town in Pennsylvania, her move to New York for graduate school, and her struggle to establish herself in a male-dominated field. Noah shared stories from his own life, carefully editing out details that would reveal his wealth and status. You know, Kira said as they shared a tiramisu, you still haven't really told me what you do. Investment management could mean anything from bank teller to Wall Street tycoon. Noah chuckled nervously. It's boring, trust me, try me. I just spent 20 minutes talking about soil composition for urban gardens. I think I win the boring contest. That wasn't boring at all, Noah insisted. But fine, I run an investment firm. We manage assets, make strategic investments, that sort of thing. And you were at Aloysius alone on a Tuesday night working? Kira raised an eyebrow. Must be a pretty important job. It has its moments, Noah admitted. But honestly, I'd much rather hear more about your Brooklyn project. Kira studied him for a moment, then let him change the subject. By the time they finished dinner, Noah had forgotten all about his usual concerns: market fluctuations, board expectations, the constant pressure of leadership. Instead, he found himself completely present, enjoying the simple pleasure of getting to know someone new. Outside the restaurant, the spring evening was perfect for walking. There's a nice little dessert place a few blocks from here, Kira suggested. They make the most amazing gelato. Lead the way, Noah agreed, happy to extend their evening. As they walked, Kira slipped her hand into his, the gesture so natural it took Noah by surprise. He couldn't remember the last time he'd held someone's hand like this, without calculation or agenda. Their evening continued with gelato and a long walk through the quiet streets of the village, talking about everything and nothing. When they finally reached Kira's apartment building in Chelsea, Noah found himself reluctant to say goodnight. I had a wonderful time, he told her sincerely. Me too. Kira looked up at him, a hint of shyness in her expression. Much better than my cryptocurrency date. High praise, Noah laughed. In the soft glow of the street light, he leaned down and kissed her gently. The connection between them felt electric and comforting all at once. When they pulled apart, Kira's smile told him she'd felt it too. I'll call you tomorrow, Noah asked. You better, she replied, squeezing his hand before heading inside. Noah took his time walking back to where his driver waited, replaying the evening in his mind. There was something about Kira that made him feel both excited and at peace, a combination he hadn't experienced in years. Over the next few weeks, they fell into a rhythm, seeing each other whenever their schedules allowed. Noah took care to keep things simple, suggesting modest restaurants and normal activities rather than the exclusive venues he usually frequented. He told himself he was just waiting for the right moment to explain his full situation. One rainy Saturday afternoon, they were curled up on Kira's couch, watching old movies and sharing takeout when her roommate Liv burst in, drenched and excited. Kira, you will not believe what happened. I got the job at, she stopped abruptly, noticing Noah. Oh, sorry. I didn't know you had company. No worries, Kira said, pausing the movie. Liv, this is Noah. Noah, my roommate Liv. The famous Noah. Liv smiled, shaking his hand. Nice to finally meet you. Famous. Noah raised an eyebrow at Kira, who blushed. Ignore her, Kira muttered. Liv, you were saying something about a job. Yes. Liv's excitement returned full force. I got the marketing position at Xander Media. Can you believe it? Me, working for one of the Xander companies. Noah froze, his takeout container halfway to the coffee table. That's amazing. Kira exclaimed. Isn't that the media company owned by that super rich guy? What's his name? Noah something? Noah Xander, Liv corrected. Supposedly he's like insanely hot and only in his 30s. Total billionaire wonderkind. The HR lady said he sometimes visits the media division, so maybe I'll actually meet him one day. Noah cleared his throat uncomfortably. Congratulations on the job, he managed to say. Thanks, Liv beamed. I'm going to change out of these wet clothes, don't mind me. As soon as Liv disappeared into her bedroom, Kira turned to Noah with a curious expression. You okay? You look like you've seen a ghost. I'm fine, Noah said, knowing this moment couldn't be avoided any longer. But there's something I should probably tell you. That sounds ominous, Kira joked, though her smile faded when she saw his serious expression. My full name is Noah Xander. Kira stared at him blankly. Okay, Noah Xander, as in the owner of Xander Media and Xander Investments and about a dozen other companies. Comprehension slowly dawned on Kira's face. Wait, you're that Noah Xander, the billionaire? Noah nodded, watching carefully for her reaction. I should have told you sooner. I just enjoyed being with someone who didn't know, who liked me for me, not for my money or influence. Kira sat back, processing this revelation. So all this time when you said you were in investment management. I was technically telling the truth, Noah offered weakly, and when you paid for dinner at Aloysius that night. It wasn't exactly a financial strain, he admitted. Kira was quiet for a long moment. I feel so stupid, she finally said. No, please don't. Noah moved closer, taking her hand. This is exactly why I didn't tell you right away. People treat me differently when they know. They either want something from me or they're intimidated by me. These past few weeks with you have been the most normal, the most real I've felt in years. Kira pulled her hand away gently. I need some time to process this. It's a lot to take in. Of course, Noah stood up, understanding but disappointed. I'll go, just. Please know that nothing between us was fake. How I feel about you is completely real. As Noah left the apartment, he hoped he hadn't just lost something precious before it had truly begun. For 3 days, he heard nothing from Kira. Noah threw himself into work, trying not to check his phone every 5 minutes. On the 4th day, just as he was beginning to lose hope, a text appeared. Central Park, Bethesda Fountain, 1 p.m. tomorrow. I have something to show you. Relief flooded through him. I'll be there, he replied immediately. The next day, Noah arrived early, nervously watching people stroll by. At exactly 1 p.m., he spotted Kira walking toward him, a portfolio tucked under her arm. His heart raced as she approached. Thank you for coming, she said, her expression unreadable. Thank you for texting, he replied. I was worried I'd never hear from you again. Kira gestured to a nearby bench. Shall we sit? Once seated, she opened her portfolio and handed him several sketches. These are my latest designs for the Brooklyn project, the one you said you read about. Noah examined the detailed drawings, confused but willing to follow her lead. They're beautiful. The integration of the water features with the vertical gardens is ingenious. The project is stalling, Kira said matter-of-factly. We're short on funding and the neighborhood really needs this green space. Noah looked up, beginning to understand. Are you asking me to invest in your project? No, Kira said firmly. I'm showing you my work because it's important to me and because I needed to prove something to myself. What's that? That I can sit here with you knowing exactly who you are and what you could do for my career and still only want one thing from you. She took a deep breath. The same thing I wanted before I knew about your money. Just you, Noah, just us. Noah felt a weight lift from his chest. And what is it that you want from us? A chance, Kira said simply. A real chance with complete honesty from now on. Noah reached for her hand. I can do that, starting now. He gestured to her portfolio. And for the record, your project looks incredible. If you ever decide you want to talk about funding options, I'd be happy to help not as your boyfriend, but as someone who believes in creating green spaces in urban environments. Kira smiled, squeezing his hand. Boyfriend, huh, too presumptuous, he asked. No, she said softly, just right. From that day forward, Noah held nothing back. He showed Kira his world, the penthouse apartment, the offices, the responsibilities that came with his position. She met his executive team, attended charity galas on his arm, and never once seemed overwhelmed by the lifestyle that had driven away so many others. In return, Kira shared her world with him, introducing him to her parents when they visited from Pennsylvania, bringing him to casual dinners with her friends from graduate school, showing him her favorite hidden spots in the city. Noah found himself appreciating these simpler experiences more than the exclusive events that filled his calendar. 6 months after their first meeting, Kira's Brooklyn project opened to the public. The community garden flourished, transformed by her vision, and though she insisted it wasn't necessary, some strategic investments from Noah's foundation. At the opening ceremony, Noah stood at the back of the crowd, watching proudly as Kira cut the ribbon and explained the garden's features to the gathered community members. Seeing her in her element, passionate, confident, making a tangible difference in people's lives, he knew with absolute certainty what he wanted for their future. That evening, Noah took Kira back to Aloysius, requesting the same tables they'd occupied on the night they met, feeling nostalgic. Kira teased as they were seated, something like that, Noah smiled. I wanted to come back to where it all started, to the place where I couldn't mind my own business. Thank goodness you eavesdropped, Kira laughed. Otherwise, I might still be listening to cryptocurrency lectures. Throughout dinner, Noah found himself growing increasingly nervous. The small velvet box in his pocket seemed to weigh 1,000 pounds. When dessert arrived, he took a deep breath and reached across the table for her hand. Kira, these past 6 months have been the happiest of my life. Before I met you, I had success, but not happiness. I had achievements, but not joy. You've shown me what it means to connect with someone on a level I didn't even know was possible. Kira's eyes widened as Noah moved from his chair to one knee beside their table. I don't want to just rescue you from bad dates, he continued, his voice filled with emotion. I want to build a life with you, to create something real and lasting. He opened the box, revealing a stunning emerald ring green, like the gardens she loved to create. Kira Sutton, will you marry me? Tears filled Kira's eyes as she nodded. Yes, she whispered, then louder, yes. The restaurant erupted in applause as Noah slipped the ring onto her finger and pulled her into a kiss. Later that night, as they stood on the balcony of Noah's penthouse, looking out at the city lights, Kira nestled against him. You know, she said thoughtfully, most people would say I hit the jackpot, literally meeting a billionaire like this. And what do you say? Noah asked, curious. I say the real wealth is this, she touched his heart, and this, she gestured between them. Everything else is just details. Noah pulled her closer, thinking about how a simple act of kindness interrupting a bad date had changed the course of his life forever. I couldn't agree more, he said softly. A year later, they were married in the Brooklyn community garden Kira had designed, surrounded by lush greenery and their closest friends and family. Noah's financial world and Kira's creative one had merged seamlessly. With Kira leading a new environmental initiative within Noah's companies while maintaining her independent landscape architecture practice. For their first anniversary, Noah surprised Kira with the deed to a historic building he'd purchased, an abandoned library in a neglected neighborhood that needed revitalization. What's this for? Kira asked, examining the documents. For your next project, Noah explained. I thought we could transform it into a community center with gardens on the roof and workshops for teaching urban farming, a place that combines both our passions. Tears filled Kira's eyes as she hugged him tightly. It's perfect, absolutely perfect. As they began planning this new venture together, Noah reflected on how different his life had become since that fateful night at Aloysius. He had always been successful, but never truly fulfilled until Kira. She had taught him that real wealth wasn't measured in dollars, but in moments in laughter shared over simple meals, in the quiet understanding between two people who saw each other for who they truly were. "What are you thinking about?" Kira asked, catching his thoughtful expression. "Just how grateful I am that your date was such a cryptocurrency enthusiast," Noah replied with a smile. Kira laughed, the sound that had first captivated him still making his heart skip a beat. "Here's to bad dates and the good men who rescue us from them." "And never let go," Noah added, pulling her close. As the years passed, their partnership only grew stronger. They welcomed twins, a boy and girl who inherited Kira's creativity and Noah's determination. Together, they built not just successful businesses but meaningful legacies, transforming urban spaces across the country and creating opportunities for communities often overlooked by traditional philanthropy. And on every anniversary, they returned to Aloysius, sitting at those same two tables, a tradition that reminded them both that sometimes the greatest fortunes come from simply paying attention to the person sitting at the next table.